Έκτο Διεθνές Συνέδριο EEPEK, 16 με 18 Οκτωβρίου 2020, Λάρισα. Ονομάζομαι Παπαθεοδώρου Λουκία, είμαι εκπαιδευτικός Δευτεροβάθμιας Εκπαίδευσης, κλάδου EEPEK Αγγλικής Γλώσσας και η εργασία που θα σας παρουσιάσω αναφέρεται στην εφαρμογή εναλλακτικών μεθόδων αξιολόγησης των μαθητών του Γενικού Λυκείου στο μάθημα της Αγγλικής Γλώσσας. Τίτλος εργασίας: Why not implement alternative assessment in the Greek Upper Secondary ELT context, exploring its potential? The aim of this paper is to acquaint readers with implementation of alternative assessment methods in an English language teaching context in Greek Upper Secondary education. It focuses on the effectiveness of applying them as complementary components of conventional testing methods in order to assess learners' linguistic ability and performance. The need for the discussion of the issues presented below derived from the development of the integrated foreign languages curriculum for primary and secondary education. This is the new curriculum for foreign languages, and it was developed by the Research Center for Languages Teaching, Testing and Assessment, Faculty of English Language and Literature of the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens, in collaboration with the Educational Policy Institute, which is a branch of the Hellenic Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs. As regards the Greek upper secondary education, the part of the curriculum concerning the specific teaching setting has not been published yet. Nevertheless, the guidelines of the Educational Policy Institute are based on the already developed program, and a few of its basic aspects are presented below. According to the new curriculum, teachers can design their syllabi by adjusting and supplementing the material in the frame of a differentiated teaching. Differentiation in teaching constitutes one of the educational approaches adopted by the integrated foreign languages curriculum, and one of the beliefs it is based on is that different learners have different needs, and thus the teacher plans a variety of ways to deliver instruction. Besides, teachers can reform their teaching practices and exploit a wide range of techniques that are likely to help learners respond effectively in a real communicative context. Finally, conventional and alternative forms of student assessment should be implemented so that systematic feedback is provided to both learners and teachers. Prior to discussing the issue of implementing alternative assessment methods in Greek upper secondary education, it would be essential to provide an overview of the above English language teaching setting. Classes are almost never homogeneous, with the majority of students belonging to different linguistic levels and adopting different attitudes. The dominant belief is that state school English language teaching has the status of a tenor situation, that is, teaching English for no obvious reason. Besides, reluctant students often consider English language activities boring or even drudgery, and inevitably are negatively predisposed towards the lesson. Weaker students are usually anxious and hesitant to take intellectual risks or even express themselves in the classroom because they feel that they run the risk of being ridiculed. Last, competent students and those seeking to begin a university degree in English feel that their innate propensity to learn is very often diminished by factors such as grades, examinations, or unsupportive classroom environment. What is of paramount importance in such teaching settings is the English teacher's role, which is to organize and manage the classroom as an effective learning environment, and more specifically, combat lethargy, engender, sustain, and kindle students' motivation. It can be inferred from the above that the implementation of non-conventional alternative methods of student assessment can be instrumental in helping teachers create optimal teaching and learning conditions in their classroom. Conventional methods are considered to have lots of drawbacks. To start with, traditional testing methods, paper and pencil and computer-based or computer-adaptive tests are inadequate to provide continuous ongoing assessment. Teacher-made tests may generate faulty results since they are summative in nature, that is, their main purpose is to assess learning and therefore to pass judgment on the learner. Besides, objective testing techniques are employed, thus the information collected concerns the product rather than the process of learning. Finally, conventional testing is likely to create competition among students, may be demotivating for them, and make them lose confidence in their own capacity to learn, since it tends to overemphasize the grading function of assessment. But what is alternative assessment? It involves the assessment procedures which are less formal than traditional testing, which are gathered over a period of time, are often low stakes in terms of consequences, and are claimed to have beneficial washback effects. There are many methods or types of alternative assessment. Conferences, debates, demonstrations, diaries, journals, logs, dramatizations, exhibitions, games, observations, peer assessment, portfolios, projects, self-assessment, storytelling, think aloud. Researchers and practitioners in the field maintain that the benefits from applying alternative assessment methods in the teaching practice are many. The information obtained is extensive, more useful compared to test scores, and easy to interpret. It is ongoing assessment which reflects the process and product of learning. It involves collaborative work among students in a relaxed atmosphere. Student self-esteem is enhanced and intrinsic motivation is fostered. It promotes autonomous learning and the development of lifelong learning skills. The increase of learner self-confidence and intrinsic motivation and the promotion of autonomous and self-directed learning are two benefits of prime importance for students in the teaching context currently examined and are further discussed below. Motivation has been a central issue in the field of psychology and involves all aspects of activation and intention. In the real world, motivation is highly valued. Within the field of foreign language teaching and learning, motivation is considered dynamic that changes over time. But before attempting to link it with alternative assessment, it is vital to provide the rudiments of the motivation theory. According to Deki and Ryan's self-determination theory, there are two types of motivation that are directly related to the source of influence. Intrinsic motivation, which refers to performing an activity simply for the pleasure and satisfaction that accompanies the action, and extrinsic motivation, which is concerned with learning situations where the reason for performing the task is other than an inherent interest in it. As regards the Greek Upper Secondary Education ELT context, student assessment which is based on alternative methods creates a very positive, relaxed, non-judgmental and thus non-competitive classroom environment, since the grading function is not overemphasized. The information collected is qualitative in the form of a profile rather than a single score or quantification. Thus, it has a positive impact on student psychology and their efforts are intensified. Besides, students can monitor their progress. Thus, the learner involvement in the teaching process is promoted. And when learners are actively and independently involved in their own learning, learner autonomy, then intrinsic motivation is facilitated and learning effectiveness is increased. It emerges thus from all the above that alternative assessment influences students' motivation and should therefore be deeply examined. Nevertheless, further investigation in the field is needed in order to facilitate learners in their efforts to better capture the learner's learning process and assess their performance more effectively. Thank you very much.